So 2023 underway and the car running more reliable, or being more reliable, it was time to get the air conditioning gassed. So the chap came around with his van, hooked it all up and pumped all the gas in, but he couldn't get it all in, the right amount in. He said it was running too hot, but the car was still running cold. But what was actually happening was the condenser was running hot, so it wasn't dragging, the single fan wasn't dragging enough air through the condenser, which allowed him to put more gas in. So he suggested I change the fans, which I wasn't really keen on because the car or the engine was already running fairly cold, probably too cold. But I ended up purchasing a set of aftermarket AU Falcon fans, and we set those up and mounted them all in. So Brendan came over the Savo and he wired up the fan for us. We just we'll get to wait until we get the air conditioner, all gas and all fitted properly till we shorten all these wires, make sure they're all running in the right place. But this is the twin fan out of the Falcon AU, or the AU Falcon. Apparently they're all the go, so we've just been cutting around a few pipes and getting it set down. Right, we're going to put some aluminium angle down here and seal it all off. Put some foam around where it needs to go to seal it in properly. We should be ready to rock and roll. It's going to sit down pretty neat by the look of it. So I'll just pull it out of the car. I'm just got to cut these off there, don't need these on there, a bit long. And put some strips down it, get rid of some of these, they're a bit too far out, just to tidy it up a bit. Actually should be pretty good. One good thing, it cuts pretty easy. Famous last words, now it doesn't want to cut. Yeah, it does cut pretty easy. Cut all those off and get it all ready. See where I notched out the areas where the hose and the cooler lines went through, and then I was on to some aluminium angle, cut it to shape and folded it over to try and cover up all the gaps as best I could, and then test fitted it to the car to make sure it was all going to sit in nice. I cut that little tab off the centre. I screwed all those on, so I'm going to try and cut the backs of the screws off, make them the right length. We'll drill the holes in it, it should be all good to go. I'm going to make that fin across the bottom, it blocks it off. Might go to Bunnings tonight and see if I can get some of that foam. It does look pretty tidy. Pretty happy with the overall look. So today was the day that bit of flashing you saved from this shed you built 28 years ago in 1995 came in handy. I used the flashing to block off the bottom of the fan to concentrate the air going through the condenser, to make sure that all the air was focused on the condenser to keep the condenser cool. So yeah, it doesn't pay to throw things away. So with the flashing riveted into place and some tape sealing off all the air so no air can get through it, I slipped over to Bunnings and bought some of the expansion foam that you use on concrete, some 50mm wide, and trimmed it down to 40mm, whacked it with a double-sided tape on one edge of it, and placed it in between the condenser and the radiator to make sure no air escaped. With the grill back in and the car all ready to rock and roll, I've taken it for a test drive to one of the shops I normally have to go to, and to a couple of car shows up at Red Cliff and a few other little places just running around. So I brought it home on this particular day, give it a clean, found a great spot to clean it, and thought we'd go to the Carolee car show. And I hadn't used the air conditioner, or really put the high beams on, so it was a bit of a warm day, so I thought I'll put the high beams on, crank the air conditioner up and give it a bit of a run, and then we got a tow truck home, which was avoidable because Brendan had put an actual switch in there, so an overload switch. If this happened, all I had to do was turn the air conditioner off and reset the overload switch, but someone forgot about the overload switch, so we got a free ride home in the tow truck, ride number 2. But you can't waste a good opportunity, because look at the sunset there, and it's got a couple of really nice photos of the car in the sunset, and you wouldn't normally park on a roundabout, so it sort of worked out okay. I'm just giving the electrics a bit of a workout. We've got the AC on, headlights on, everything's on. It's been running for about 10 or 15 minutes now, so that's pretty good. Hasn't overheated. So we went back over the car and tested it and ran it and put the lights on, air conditioning on, everything you could think of. Everything seemed to check out okay, so we started driving again. We took it down to Murwillumbah, down to see Bad Chad, and the big car show down at the Brothers League's ground, and off to my daughter's farm, which is not too far away from there. And the car never missed a beat, and we drove all the way home. My mate Stu came with us. He brought his 1934 Ford, and he won a trophy. It was a good day all round. And the car, as I said, the car never missed a beat. And I continued to drive it. We went out to different car events like Forest Lakes, Show and Shine, and a number of other places out to Victoria Point. So the car was starting to clock up a few kilometres. And as I was driving, I started to notice that it started to become harder to start. It didn't want to start. It would turn over and wouldn't fire. And it continued to do this until it got to a point where all of a sudden we're back on the back of a trailer again. So I had a little drama with the car. We'd start and then we'd drive somewhere and then it wouldn't start. And then it finally got to the point where it wouldn't start at all. And so what was happening was put these AU fans in when I put the air conditioning in to make sure it doesn't overheat. And these fans are awesome. But what they were doing when they're free spinning, they're generating electricity and acting like a generator and feeding power back to the ignition module. Now we had it all wired and it's all going through relays, and the relays had diodes in them, and so you think that would stop it all, but it didn't. So I ended up going and buying one of these Davis Craig switches, which is absolutely awesome. It fixed the problem, and the car always ran cold, so now I can just adjust the temperature up and I've got it all set up, and it's fixed all the issues. The other issue I had was the gearbox wasn't changing at the right time, and there was just a little hole in the vacuum hose which took ages to find. I put new hoses on, top and bottom, and clamped them on now, and now it's just sweet as. So starting to enjoy driving it now. I get a lot of comments about the stripe or the joint in the roof and how it's finished, how I finished off and you can't feel it. And people say, oh, I should have a chrome stripe there, blah blah blah. And I sort of thought the same originally, but I don't know whether I like it or not. But I bought some 12mm by 2mm stainless steel, and I've bent a piece up, and I just got to really finish bending it and shape, stick it on just to see how she looks. So been up in the air about this for a while, so I decided to make these. I've had this for quite some time, bent them up into the shape, and now we've just got to the sanding part. So I've cut them to shape, bent them, and now I'm just about to give it a polish to see how it comes out. So as I was saying, this has been finished with 800 grit, and I just put a bit of the old SCA cutting metal polish on it. It stinks like hell, this crap, but it seems to cut alright. So I just throw a bit of that onto there, and then I have one of the soft 2000 sanding discs. I throw it on there, the air sander, rub it in a bit, and in no time at all, it's drying it up. So as you can see, it's shined up pretty nice in no time. So to knock it down to shape pretty quick, I just threw it on had a flat disc of 40 grit, I think it was, on the battery grinder. Zipped it down, then got the file, knocked any dips out of it, wrapped some 120 around the file, knocked that down, and kept moving down in grades until it got down to the 800. And it doesn't take too long, then threw that soft pad on and polished it with a bit of the cutting compound. So they come out pretty good. Round them off a bit, down them to the shape. I don't know if they stick up a little bit in spots, but you know what? Half the car sticks up some spots, so I'm not too concerned. too bad. So I stuck the moulding on with some double-sided moulding tape. It's not going anywhere. It's been on there for quite a few Ks. We've been travelling around at a lot of car shows and all that sort of stuff, up and down the coast again, back down to Wollongbar a couple of times. So it's hanging on there, it's not coming off, and I'm going to leave it on. I'm pretty happy with the way it looks. But while we've been doing all this driving around, like we've done the HQ Holden run, that was a great day out. I could hear the left-hand wheel bearing in the rear wheel bearing starting to whir and get quite loud actually. And when we're driving down, say, the M1 down to the coast, it becomes really, really noticeable. I decided to pull the wheel bearing out and replace the wheel bearing. I removed the axle and split the little collar on the axle and changed the bearing, got all that done. And then it was time to change the seat, which is inside the actual housing, and it just would not come out. I ended up having to cut it out with the die grinder, with the, what do you call it, little Dremel. And just couldn't get it, and to get it back in again was just as hard, but I managed to get it back in and it didn't make any difference. Bit of an update on the diff. I put a wheel bearing in the left hand side, or the passenger side, and we took the car on the HQ Holden run, and the diff was still making the same howling noise it was making before the bearing was replaced. So I assumed it was a bearing inside the centre of the box, and so I took it out to do diff lapping out at Kedron. And they put the diff up on a jig which they use for straightening diffs up. And when they went to put the cone in the end, they couldn't get the cone in because this tube here is actually oval shaped. The car that I bought off at the wreckers must have been in a smash. Well, it was in a smash, but it was a front end smash. The back of it looked fine, but I think this has slid around and hit the gutter, and it's oval shaped, that tube, and there's nothing they can do to repair it. So this is why it took me I couldn't get this, just hook onto the pulley and pull this out. I actually had to get the Dremel and work out how deep I could cut almost through, and then hit it with the thing and break it to get it out. So it was just going to continue to wear out bearings and continue to leak here. And so I was just lucky that they had a whole new housing and replaced it for me. Well, I had to pay them obviously, but yeah, so it's all been rebuilt now and ready to go. Fingers crossed it's all good. I finished putting the diff back in and got it all ready, and I thought it was time to test out what it looks like with the standard rim on it. And I'd made up these decals to go on the hubcap, so to save having to paint them. And I put it on, and yeah, it's not quite what I imagined, but I didn't sit it on the ground, so I'll try that again another day with a set of standards on it. But that weekend was the first Cars and Coffee for Brisbane Refinishes, so we polished the cars and we headed out to Brisbane Refinishes at Archerfield. It was a nice little morning.